ladies. Or should I say, greetings my fellow freaks, fiends, and certified goon lords. It's spooky season, and you know what that means. The line between spooky and sexy is thinner than my gender identity. Because every Halloween, the same thing happens. You log into TikTok or Twitter and see a 7-foot-tall vampire mommy, a slimy fish man, or some really sexy demons with abs sculpted by Satan himself. And suddenly you start asking yourself, is there something wrong with me? Yes. Yes, there is. But if you think about it, there's something wrong with all of us. From girls in parasocial relationships with their Slenderman AI boyfriends, to dudes, like me, who let Lady Dimitrescu fold them like a lawn chair, humanity has always been horny for horror. The Greeks literally had Zeus turn into a swan to cheat on his wife, and don't even get me started on the Japanese. So today we're diving headfirst into the wretched, slimy pit of monster lust, why our collective libido goes feral for freaks, and how fear and attraction share the same stinky corner of your brain. Because, let's be real, when you're watching a horror movie and the werewolf rips his shirt off, you don't feel scared. You're sitting there wondering what that not do. So the idea of monster f***ing didn't start with Tumblr girls or weebs, despite what they have you believe. The earliest sources go way back. Since the dawn of storytelling, humans have been staring into the void and wondering if they can stick their dick in it. Let's start by going all the way back to ancient Greece. For the Greeks, the gods were not only deliverers of divine punishment, but also these divine sex symbols. We had Zeus, the trickster daddy, Hades, the sad e-boy in a cave, and everybody's favorite himbo Ares. And it wasn't just the gods who were getting thirsted over. One of the earliest recorded memes in history tells the story of Actaeon, a legendary hunter who caught the goddess Artemis bathing in the woods. Unable to look away because she was a tomboy muscle girl, he got caught, turned into a deer, and eaten by his own dogs. And just like that, another video where I talk about furry TF. And then we hit the Middle Ages, the time when people were notoriously down atrocious. That's where we see monks writing about succubi and incubi and other sexy demons. Now, the thing about medieval monastery is that it wasn't always the stuffy old church we think of today. In reality, they were basically frat houses that brewed their own beer between mass. So, when you have a group of drunk 20-year-olds together, they'll often do what drunk 20-year-olds are prone to do. So when the bishop shows up and wonders why Sister Godwin is pregnant, you're probably not going to fess up.
By God, 'twas an incubus!
And then there's the Victorians. Ah, the Victorians. The most repressed yet kinkiest time in human history. That's where our idea of seductive goth vampires come from. It was also when Mary Shelley gave us Frankenstein. A story about an angsty zombie boy who copes with his daddy issues with brooding and murder. So when you're sitting down to write your fanfic about your OC breaking through to the demon boy who will destroy anyone who gets in her way, you aren't being weird. In fact, you're honoring Mary Shelley, the patron saint of Tumblr sexy men. So next time your favorite moot retweets every piece of Springtrap fan art she sees, she's not being weird. Well, okay, she is. But she's also taking part in an ancient human tradition that goes all the way back to cavemen hearing something growl outside the cave. They all knew it was a saber-toothed tiger, but there was always that one guy who had a gut feeling that it might be an orc girl looking for snoo-snoo. So now we know that humans have always been horrible degenerates. But why? What's actually going on in our brains when we see a big scary monster and immediately scream, wood? Well, psychologists don't have a concrete answer, but what they do have are several theories based mainly on vibes. And if there's one thing I love, it's spreading pop psych on the internet and pretending I'm an expert. So the first theory suggests that our fear and arousal responses sometimes get tangled up. You see, it all goes down in this fun little guy in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala helps process fear, anxiety, and sometimes even pleasure. When you're scared, your body releases adrenaline. Your heart races, your senses heighten, and you basically go into fight, flight, or fuck mode. And sometimes your brain doesn't know which one you're doing. This is part of what's called the excitation-transfer theory, where leftover arousal from one emotional state, like fear, can amplify your reaction to another, like attraction. Let's say you see a hot vampire. You get scared, your body freaks out, and then your brain short circuits, and next thing you know, you have a stake in your pants. The second theory is one that I personally love. It's all about power dynamics. Monsters are forces of nature. They represent danger, dominance, the unknown, and in our weird little human goon brains, that danger can look sexy. When you see a big scary monster, there's something intoxicating about surrendering control to them. It's not about wanting to die per se, it's about wanting to submit to something far more powerful than you. Another theory revolves around empathy. Monsters are usually seen as misunderstood, rejected, or punished for being different and scary. And all that built-in angst is sexy to most people, especially if you've ever felt like an outcast too, and think that you can be the one who can actually break through to the monster. Your werewolf boyfriend is still a horrifying beast from hell, but to you, he's a golden retriever. And finally, there's the fantasy of safety and danger, or what psychologists call vicarious thrill-seeking. Monsters give us the thrill of being close to something terrifying without actually being close to danger, since most of them are fictional. That's why you book talk enjoyers might love your demon CEO or cursed dragon boyfriends. But if your real boss acted the same way, you'd probably quit and never leave your room ever again. Personally, I would love to be chased around by Lady D and her daughters. But if a real woman chased me around her house with a knife, I wouldn't find that hot at all. Except for that one time. But that's a video for another day. Our taste in monsters come in all kinds of spooky shapes and sizes, but a cultured monster fucker usually falls into one of two camps. On one end, we have the classic Dommy horrors, your Lady Dimitrescus, your Pyramid Heads, even your Atom Smashers. These are the classic, big monster, sexy, crush me like a grape shit. You either want to be crushed or drained or eaten in some way, usually all three in no specific order. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the monster girls. I really didn't want to go into this burrito horny. Monster girls aren't necessarily about danger or violence. They're more about possibility. When you see a slime girl, instead of a monster, you see the perfect little waifu. But her slime does add a whole new world of degeneracy. The thing about monster girls is they're usually built on curiosity and the possibility of a connection they won't get with someone like Jeff the Killer. Who cares if she was your cat last week? She's your girlfriend now, and she lets you use her lap as a pillow. And what's cool is that, much like how the West had its ghouls and goblins, Japan has its own long history of monster love. In Western stories, humans are usually helpless prey to powerful monsters. In Eastern stories, particularly Japanese folklore, love changes the monster. The monster girl mindset is that your love can actually suppress her supernatural instincts and make her completely devoted to your love. There are countless old stories of yokai, which are ancient Japanese spirits, and the original monster girls, who gave up their immortality or power for the love of a mortal. And of course, we can't talk about this without mentioning one of the oldest pieces of monster art ever, The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife. It's a woodblock print from 1814. It depicts the titular fisherman's wife in a very forward octopus playing their own kind of spittoon. Yes, it's weird, and no, I can't show it here. But it's also one of the earliest examples of how Japan explored its own monster love journey. It's also worth noting that the artist, Hosokai, is known for some of the most famous and recognizable Japanese artwork of all time. He didn't have to make this. Bro really did that for the love of the game. And for that, we thank you. Those early stories and one very horny octopus laid the foundation for an entire subgenre of waifu. Because of one down-bad Japanese farmer in the 1600s, you can now argue with strangers online about who's the best girl in Dragon Maid. Monster girl love isn't about getting eaten by the monster. It's about being accepted by her. And that mindset is what makes the monster girl archetype so unique. And I am disappointed in every single one of you. So humanity was doing pretty well with their monster lust, all things considered. It was a personal thing you kept to yourself and your darkest repressed memories. And then, like most things, the internet came and fucked everything up. Somewhere around the late 2000s, people stopped being afraid of the dark and started being horny for it. Sites like Tumblr, DeviantArt, and even Wattpad became the breeding grounds, pun very much intended, for a new and horrifying era of monster horny. That's where the idea of the Tumblr sexy man really took off. Creepypasta characters like Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, and Alice Jack stopped being just scary stories and became sex symbols. Termly online sex symbols, but sex symbols nonetheless. Every monster you saw, you just knew there was a shocking amount of people who were deathly horny for them. When you saw a trailer for a new horror game or movie, you were less afraid of the monster and more afraid of the art you'll see online in a few minutes. The Xenomorph became sexy, Venom became a dom, and Bowser became daddy. And in a weird way, it's kind of wholesome. People went from using monsters as foils or cautionary tales, and now they're symbols about not being afraid of things that are other or different. They're an avenue for us to express our wildest fantasies, except in the form of some godless abomination. Well, cuties, what have we learned today? We learned that while you can't really fix your demon boyfriend, he can still make you a lot worse. Monster lust isn't just about the monster, it's about giving us permission to freak max. Monsters let us flirt with the taboo, project our weirdest desires, and romanticize the parts of ourselves we hide from everyone else. Monsters may be horrifying, but they also don't lie about who or what they are. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful. Not your Silas RP though. That is terrifying and you seriously need help, bestie. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all from the bottom of my cold, dead heart. Shout out to all my supporters. I love you all so much, I will say all your names at the same time. I really hope future Kenshi at least puts your names on screen this time. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, and all that other generic YouTuber shit. Anyway, this Halloween, stay safe, stay freaky, and like always, stay cute, cuties. Also, if you look like this, please hit me up. This isn't even part of the video anymore. I'm serious, bro. I'm fiending, bro. Please.